Bhandari, and I'm the owner of Silk Threads. Today I am going to share a little bit of my story with you, just so how you know how I started and how I got to where I am today. My inspiration really started when I was 13 years old. My mom actually forced me, like a good Indian girl, to go for a sewing class. Once I went for that class, I realized how powerful I felt that I could make my own garments. It came absolutely natural to me. Cutting, stitching, fitting, everything. It was as if I already knew what to do. So as a child in Austin, Texas, my mom and I were the hot mother-daughter team that actually had brand new clothes every single week. So we were the hot mother-daughter team that had brand new clothes stitched every single week, mixing and matching things that we had made in India and then things that we got here, just so we could have something new all the time. By the time I got to college and I got married at the University of Texas at Austin, all my friends were asking me if I could sew my clothes off my back. And so began Silk Threads. I went, registered the company, and I got my very first shipment of clothing, which I told my designer, just make 3 of everything that I already own. So from there, Silk Threads was actually born. Clothing was coming in, and we were selling it. It was coming in legally, and we were selling it to all of our friends and family right here in Austin, Texas. And then the challenges came. So we got our next shipment, which was stuck in customs. Why? Because we didn't have the correct labeling. So the first shipment, of course, came in and we just got lucky. Then after that, we learned all of the requirements that had not been done. And we actually were in 20-degree weather in Dallas, in British Airways warehouse, trying to stitch. And we were literally stitching each and every piece onto a dupatta, onto a salwar, a skirt, a blouse. It was insane. It was 10 grueling hours in 20 degrees with my very, very good friend who lives in my neighborhood today. Her name is Gauri, and I'm so thankful for her. And we actually got our shipment released, which was the biggest deal. Then what did we do? Again, we called all our friends. And we said, the shipment's here, come and buy. And guess what? They loved the clothes, loved the collection, but they hadn't worn the stuff that they bought last time. So then, challenge number 2, how do I sell my shipment? So what I did with my husband, Raj, we went to an Indian grocery store in Austin, Texas. It was the first one ever. And we stood in front of the doors, right inside, every weekend for 3 weeks in a row, and we just waited for people, strangers, total strangers, to come and see my beautiful collection. Eventually, it turned out to be good, but the first weekend I remembered how much I cried because I came home and I had only sold 3 outfits after standing 7 or 8 hours a day, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. I said, what a waste. The biggest encouragement I had was Raj when he said, no, you will go back next weekend and we're going to do this again. So marketing lesson 1, when people see you again and again and they become familiar, then they start trusting and they want to meet you and they want you to do work with them. Lesson number 2, after you invest so much money, my husband said, you better go back and you better sell everything because we put all the money we had into these clothes. By week 3, people were coming into the grocery store and smiling and walking up to me and asking me if I could do a fashion show for the community of Austin. And I was like, of course I can. And that became my motto for the rest of my life. Of course I can. And then I would run home and try to figure out how to do it because I had to achieve what someone asked me. So I actually had to call all my friends, tell them that we have to learn how to model, and we're doing a fashion show for the community of Austin. It was for Diwali and one of the most successful fashion shows that we ever did because I got to show my collection for the first time in front of 1,000 Indian people. After that, it became UT Austin wanted me to do their fashion show because I was a student and I was part of ISA. Pretty soon, University of Houston was calling, University of San Antonio, SMU, UT Arlington. They all wanted me to do a fashion show because they didn't want to wear their mother and father's old clothes from their closet just to show Indian fashion. So Diwali became Silk Threads Diwali all over Texas, and it was amazing. So by the time I graduated from the University of Texas and that too my degree in finance and accounting, it was time for me to open a factory and for me to move beyond students and beyond young people into a more major crowd that needed clothing. So I went out and I bought myself, of course, a brand new luxury car so that I could look like I was successful. And that car is where I used to put all my clothes in the trunk. And you can guess, okay, it's a Lexus. I got a sports coupe because sports coupes are cool and young and hip and yet a luxury car. And the model that was then in the 90s had a great big trunk and I could fit all my clothes in it. And I used to drive to Gurdwara on Sundays in Dallas, Texas, and I used to open my trunk and all the women used to come and they used to shop out of my trunk. So it became a tradition for a while. Then after that, you can only imagine what happened in 2001. 2001 hit and weddings can't stop, but people had to stop traveling. So after 9/11, I got a lot of requests for weddings. Do I do wedding wear? And of course my answer was, of course I do. Now I've never done a wedding garment in my life, but you know I picked up and I left for India immediately to figure out what kind of bridal am I going to make. So I had my first bridal appointment, and that was the biggest inspiration for me to realize and understand that at that time, Indians and Pakistanis in America really wanted very Indian, traditional bridal, which they had absolutely no access to unless they actually went to India to buy it. So I started with very, very beautiful embroideries, very Indian bridal, and successfully we did around 40 brides within the first year because people just couldn't go to India and they wanted something designer and beautiful and they wanted their daughters to stand out. So after that came the time of American people, the mainstream, really getting into Indian embroideries and understanding and appreciating. So I went to an event and I won an award, and somebody at the Dallas Morning News took my picture. When she took my picture, she put it in the newspaper, and I all of a sudden started getting calls from reps at the World Trade Center asking me if I have a collection that I can show to stores and do I have the production to handle the demand. And of course my answer was, of course I do. So I ran to India immediately, I created a collection, I did a photo shoot, I got my production in order, and I came right back to America and I actually showed my collection and I landed up with a rep on the 14th floor of the World Trade Center. And the last so many years, we have done tremendous business with over 450 stores across the US, Canada, Mexico, and in several places in Europe that are actually carrying the BB brand of beautiful printed and embellished tunics. Now that I feel like I'm successful in designing and people appreciating my work, I always wanted to do social work. I wanted to do something for the community. So in 2009, I did my first huge event, and we had hundreds of people come in, and it was benefiting the American Cancer Society. And what we did is anything that we collected, we gave it back to them. And you know, people were so happy to donate, and they were so happy to see an amazing fashion show that we decided to make it an annual event. So every year we choose a different charity, and we collect everything that we can from all of our friends and family, and we donate to the community and a better cause. So this year, Silk Threads is having our 10th annual gala. It'll be in September, October timeframe, and we want all of you there because we give 100% of the proceeds back to the charity. And we're looking to choose a charity. If you have something in mind, please contact me. You can come to silkthreads.com or come to my Facebook, Silk Threads by Ruby Bhandari, and just send me your suggestions because I'm looking for a great charity, something to help women, children, and education, the three things that are most important in our life to bring our world into a better place.